And now an hour of the finest indie and alternative anthems. It's Stereo Underground with Richard Latto.
Stereo Underground with Richard Latto.
Hello and welcome to Stereo Underground on Rewind TV. What is Stereo Underground? Well, it's indie, it's alternative, it's a load of stuff in between and a lot around the fringy edges as well. But this week we're going to start with one from the creme de menthe of the Stereo Underground record collection. This is a great story song. This is Squeeze.
Stereo Underground Essential Alternative Anthems.
Country House from Blur on Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV. Did you spot Matt Lucas pop up in that video? Very entertaining, wasn't he? We've got some more good videos on the way, but first, a guest from the SU Hall of Fame. Someone who I was initially very nervous about interviewing when I heard I had the opportunity. I thought he'd be quite intimidating. He was anything but utterly charming and really authentic. This is John Lydon. You may know him as Johnny Rotten.
It's really important to have a sense of values and to know that those values have been tried and tested, because the longer you live, the more you learn, and the more you respect that your original stance was actually a good one. Now, there have been moments in my life where I've made wrong moves and thought wrongly, but I'm man enough to stand up and say, well, no, stop that, John. Get it right. Because as long as I live, it's always going to be about getting it right, which is not bad for a left-handed man.
Yeah, that's very true. And look, I've got a couple of questions relating to the original band. Anthony Brown says, does John know if God Save the Queen officially got to number one in June 77 and it was just a stitch-up that kept it at number two? Obviously, he was on the NME chart at number one for 1 week, but the actual official charts, was it a stitch-up? Does he really know?
Yeah, well, it's something like you'd have to go to law and take it to court to prove that in terms of record sales, apparently we sold more. But then again, the way charts are counted, and some stores matter more than others. Independent little corner grocery stores in a village in Norfolk can sell 5 albums and they won't register on the top of the Pop's HMV-orientated agenda. So is a fiddle in there always? Is it worth arguing about? Certainly not, because I've never in my life bothered about a chart position. I don't value music in competitive ways.
Do you mean it hasn't kept you up at night when Bruno Brooks hasn't said you're number one? And he said you're number
that might
two?
Be different, because Bruno matters ever so much.
More great music videos on the way, including Madness and 999. They're coming up after the break on Rewind TV, here on Stereo Underground.
Stereo Underground with Richard Latto. The songs your mum never approved of. This is Stereo Underground.
999 and Homicide. What a great gutsy song that is. I've always had a soft spot for that. It blew me away when I first heard it, and I quite like the video as well. Let's have a track now that has been requested by someone, but before I play that, a reminder that if you would like to have a request as well, send me an email, latto@stereounderground.co.uk, Latto @stereounderground.co.uk. Send a video with your request asking for it. I'm quite happy to read out emails, but if you get a chance to record a video, that would be great. And then you can introduce the track yourself. That's what Inez Marlowe has done, so let's hear what he wants.
Hi Rich, and hello to Stereo Undergrounders all over the world. I'm here at home in Fareham, and in the hall I've got a lot of my gig photos up, and anyone who visits has to do the quiz and try and identify as many as they can, and if you get less than 50% you're not allowed in. So here's some clues for anyone who might visit the house in future. We've got Charlie from Simple Minds, Lightning Seeds, Adamant, Ultravox, Empathy Test. If you don't know them, check them out. Mark Almond, Tony Visconti and Glenn Gregory doing the Holy Holy Bowie stuff. Midge, Hooky, and behind me is Andy Bell. Then on the other side we've got Depeche Mode, Rolling Stones, U2, Heaven 17, Gary Newman, OMD at the Albert Hall. And if you're not full yet and you fancy a little bit of dessert, how about playing us a little bit of blancmange?
Blancmange and Living on the Ceiling. Thank you, Ines Marlowe, for requesting that track. Keep your requests coming. Latto at stereounderground.co.uk. Pop a little video on there and I'll play you a track. You can introduce it yourself as well. How cool is that? Great ones on the way, including a request with a very special reason behind it for James, and an absolute belter from Debbie, Harry and Blondie. That plays next on Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV.
Stereo Underground with Richard Latto. This is Stereo Underground.
So effortlessly cool, Debbie, Harry and Blondie on Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV. I've got something from Depeche Mode that plays next after this track from a group that I've occasionally said I prefer to The Clash, but I understand that that is sacrilege to a lot of guys. In fact, I've got one of their brilliant albums here. This is Big Audio Dynamite, one of their live albums, which is superb. This isn't the live version. This is one of those tracks which gets people thinking, what film is this from? Well, it's one of Nick Rogue's films. This is all a big homage to the director Nick Rogue, and very good it is too. This is E equals MC squared on Stereo Underground.
Why don't you play us a tune, pal? I don't like music. Come on, little geezer. You look funny when you talk.
Stereo Underground, the best alternative mix.
Reach out and touch faith.
Depeche Mode and Personal Jesus off that all-time classic album Violator.
The alternative revolution. This is Stereo Underground.
Now let's have a request with a very special meaning behind it. It's a beautiful song and it's got a beautiful video, and it's requested by Andy.
Hi Richard, you said you wanted some requests on video, and a request from me is to play the song Moving On by James. I know you played it a few times on the show. Just an amazing song. I've always loved it, and it's almost a year ago now that I lost my mum to dementia, and I was with her at the end of her life, and that song and the video that goes with it is just incredible in terms of the emotion behind it. I know that Tim Booth wrote it about his mum when she passed, so yeah, it's just an amazing song. I just think even if it wasn't connected with my personal circumstance, I still think it's incredible. But yeah, if you could play that, and yeah, if anybody has not seen the video, I strongly recommend it.
The Stranglers and Duchess. That's a track you don't often see being played on music channels, isn't it? So good to see that again. That is why we have Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV. If you'd like to request a track, send me in an email, latto@stereounderground.co.uk. We'll be back after this short break with even more brilliant indie and alternative music videos.
Stereo Underground with Richard Latto. Stereo Underground.
Too Much Pressure from the Selector on Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV. Now, I've got one final track for you to play, which is an absolute belter. But before I do that, a reminder, if you'd like to listen to the radio programme for SU, we have a radio version, 2 hours of indie and alternative tunes in your ear holes every week. You can find it on Mixcloud. Head over to mixcloud.com or get the Mixcloud app and make sure you find the Stereo Underground channel. You can follow for free to get the 2-hour show for nothing, or you can become a subscriber, and there are a load of bonus editions of the programme as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with another edition of Stereo Underground here on Rewind TV very soon. Keep the requests coming. Latto at stereounderground.co.uk. I'm going to leave you with this, which I know I've described as a belter. It's quite a cheeky belter as well. It's a good punk song. It was kind of hijacked by children's parties in the 80s and 90s, but it is still very credible and alternative and indie at heart. This is the Toy Dolls and Nelly the Elephant on Stereo Underground.
This one's called Nelly the Elephant. To Bombay, a travelling circus came.
Stereo Underground with Richard Latto.